Want to shop Walmart Black Friday deals first? Walmart Plus members get early access to our hottest deals. Join now and get 50% off a 1-year annual membership. Shop Black Friday deals first with Walmart Plus. See terms at walmartplus.com.
For over 50 years, Burlington's legacy has been great deals on coats for all weather conditions. So before you're caught unprepared for the winter weather, head to Burlington for name brands, quality items, and surprising fits for every family member. Stock up on coats, sweaters, and accessories before the cold hits, so you can finally stop avoiding the elements and start living comfortably. Warm up at your nearest Burlington location less than 1 mile away. Burlington. Deals, brands, wow.
You know, there's two notions where, and even when my daughter, a lot of times she'll go to sleep and not remember her dreams at night. And I think it's a notion about there's dreams that you can have when your eyes are open, and they can be, in a sense, can become real and true if you believe. And, might be something that I always say this. And it's crazy in certain ways. Ryan would pretend to be Casey Kasem and literally host shows and had all this radio equipment. And then now, he ended up later in life taking over for Casey Kasem and hosting America's Top 40. It's crazy where, and then he would pretend to host shows and do all these things. And then, he took over Dick Clark's position with New Year's Eve show. And so I think you never know what you can be doing as a child, pretending and playing, that could kind of spark something within yourself, and that you realize you connect with and you want to be part of, and it might carry you into as you grow.
Hey everyone, I'm Bianca Schultz from the Children's Book Review, and this is the Growing Readers Podcast. Today, I'm talking with Meredith Seacrest Leach, co-author of the delightful new picture book, The Make-Believers. Meredith is not only a first-time author, but also the executive director and COO of the Ryan Seacrest Foundation. She's here to share insights about her debut book, co-written with her brother, media personality, Ryan Seacrest. The Make-Believers celebrates the power of imagination and encourages children to dream big. In our conversation, we'll explore the inspiration behind the book, Meredith's experience collaborating with her brother, and how her work with the Ryan Seacrest Foundation is connected with the book's message to champion children's dreams. We'll also discuss the importance of fostering creativity in young minds and how parents can encourage imaginative play. So get ready to dive into a world where dreams come to life and imagination knows no bounds. Before we welcome Meredith Seacrest Leach to the show, here's the book synopsis for The Make-Believers. From America's favorite host and media personality, Ryan Seacrest, and his sister, Meredith Seacrest Leach, comes a debut picture book that celebrates the surprising strength of a child's wild, wonderful imagination and how it can change the whole world. You might think dreams only exist at night, when the moon is glowing and your eyes are shut tight. But what if I told you there's another kind of dreaming? All you have to do is make believe, because you can be a make-believer. Encourage little ones everywhere to imagine big, to dream far, and to always follow their hearts with this delightful book about the transformative power of play. Well, hello, Meredith Seacrest Leach. Welcome to the Growing Readers Podcast.
Well, thank you for having me. I'm excited to be on today.
Such a pleasure. I'm so thrilled to talk about your debut picture book, The Make-Believers, which you co-wrote with your brother, Ryan Seacrest. But before we jump right into the book, I would just love to start with a question just so we can kind of get to know a little about you. What's one thing that you like to do in your day-to-day practices that you feel would be the most surprising or the most relatable to listeners?
You know what? I'm a big inhale, exhale person. You know, when you have like a lot going on, even if it's like deep breath in and deep breath out. And then, all right, we got this. I don't know, power of taking a deep breath sometimes. It's something that I do. So I tell my daughter to do it too. We're having a tough moment. Let's take a deep breath in, blow out the candles and blow it out, right? In and out.
I love that. I love that. Like, my husband recently told me he notices every time I put my phone down, I do a giant exhale. And I was like, wow, maybe that's a sign I need to just not pick that thing up.
Yes, I know. I agree. It's like put the phone aside, some good breathing, and we're off to a good start.
Yeah. So you have a daughter. What's something you love to do with your daughter? I'm going to guess that you enjoy reading books together. Is that correct?
Reading books. And yeah, I'm in like the prime zone of playing make-believe. Like my daughter is full on make-believe all the time. So I am, a magician's assistant. I am, we're playing school. I'm her sister. I'm her, I'm the baby. I'm whatever it is we're playing. It's just, I'm fully living all the fun of imagination with her. And I eat it up and I love it.
I bet she's pretty proud you have a kid's book out in the world.
She is, and she's very excited that getting the first copy and a little dedication to her in the front of the book. So it's a lot of fun. She was a big part of the inspiration for the book too.
When you tuck her in at night, is reading a part of your routine by chance?
Of course it is.
Yes.
And I love it so much because it is that kind of quiet time where you get to read. And she's in kindergarten. So we're learning, she's sounding out letters. We're trying to teach to read. And too, because she can't fully read yet, you see the power of the illustration. So she can kind of understand or tell me what a page says without knowing how to read the words. So I learned a lot about that, about how important not only the words are, but also how you work with your illustrator, because you want the picture to speak to the child and that they understand it too.
Yeah, absolutely. What are some of her favorite go-tos in the evening time? Does she have like any books on repeat? And I'm going to guess The Make-Believers is high up there.
Yeah, I mean, yes, but we've been reading lately. We were reading some Amelia Bedelia, if you remember that.
Absolutely.
And then, there's some of these books too, like she might love a character, like she's into Bluey, the show. So Bluey has a whole series of books that go along with it. So there's some of that going on. We have all the Dr. Seuss, and even old ones like Madeline. Reading that. So we're all over the place. She has we call it her little library, and she can go pick out a book and just make it a great experience. And also what's been fun with her school, they get to check out a book each week. So then she brings home a new book, and then that I think gets her excited to read her book coming home. So that's a lot of fun too.
I always love seeing the books that my kids bring home from the school library. I feel like you get this little glimpse of exactly who they are in that moment, like what's really inspiring them. And yeah, it's always fun to see what they pick.
Exactly.
Well, it's often said that to be a writer, that you need to be a reader first. So I'm curious, was there a pivotal moment in your life in which you considered yourself a reader?
I think really grade school, I got, you'd have all your summer reading and all the books within English class. And I always loved English and that creative writing. And we did I remember in third grade, I wrote a book called Spaghetti Spill Out Academy. And it was this whole fun book, but I still have it to this day. And it just, I don't know, I just always enjoyed creative writing, reading, all those good things. So I really think that kind of grade school is when I connected to it all.
Yeah, it's funny you say third grade, because I feel like that's the moment too where maybe I enjoyed reading, but that's also when I had identified as enjoying writing. And I have this third grade memory of the assignment was in the shape of a tooth. We had to write a story about teeth, and it could be anything. And the only rule was you couldn't end the story with, and then I woke up.
Love it.
I feel like it was such a classic way that it turned out your whole story was just a big dream. And the third grade teacher was like, no, we're not having that. But
it's so true. I remember like Where the Red Fern Grows, like the teacher was reading that. It was kind of sad. And I remember I just have vivid memories starting for some reason third grade for me, where it all just started to connect for a passion for me.
What would you say was the driving force that guided you toward creating the Make-Believers?
I think my brother and I, this was back, during good old COVID, when we think everyone had a lot of time, right? And sometimes maybe that slowing down opens a door for creative thoughts. And we were chatting about how we grew up and, seeing my daughter get older and just, with the things she was doing, how creative she was. And Ryan and I started reflecting on our childhood a bit. And then it kind of turned into, what if we wrote a book about this? And I don't know, we kind of joked about it. And then we started to, put pen to paper and some ideas. And we were fortunate through some of his relations to kind of pitch the idea. And then it actually went forward, which is, I kind of learning it's not necessarily always the easiest to put a book out there. And so we were thrilled that our idea was able to actually make it all the way to publishing.
Want to shop Walmart Black Friday deals first? Walmart Plus members get early access to our hottest deals. Join now and get 50% off a 1-year annual membership. Shop Black Friday deals first with Walmart Plus. See terms at walmartplus.com.
For over 50 years, Burlington's legacy has been great deals on coats for all weather conditions. So before you're caught unprepared for the winter weather, head to Burlington for name brands, quality items, and surprising fits for every family member. Stock up on coats, sweaters, and accessories before the cold hits, so you can finally stop avoiding the elements and start living comfortably. Warm up at your nearest Burlington location less than 1 mile away. Burlington. Deals, brands, wow.
Why don't you tell us a little bit about your work with the Ryan Seacrest Foundation and also how it relates to this book?
Yes. So, gosh, it was almost 14 years ago. My brother, he'd done a lot going to children's hospitals and visiting patients kind of through his work with American Idol, and that sort of thing in his radio show. And I would go with him because sometimes these visits were on weekends. And there was a time where we just had a moment where he had brought his radio show actually to the Children's Hospital in Orange County, California. And we just saw the power of kind of this live broadcast going on, bringing in celebrity guests and how it brought an energy to the hospital. And it got kids out of bed and it was just a super fun day. And it stuck with him. And he's like, I'm at a point in my life, I've supported a lot of causes, but I'd love to create something that can be tangible and we can give back. So it evolved into creating what we call now Seacrest Studios. So it's a hybrid of like a radio studio, like he works in at Kiss FM, but also TV components. So it's green screens and it's just all about creating content and having fun. So we built the first one in our hometown of Atlanta, and then it kind of snowballed from there into now we're in 14 hospitals across the country. And the essential idea is it's a place for kids to escape for a little bit what they're going through. And in a sense, use their imagination. They can be the star of a show. They can, if you want to host a show about bugs, you can do that. You can, have a dance party. You can be a chef. You can, whatever you want to do. We have so many things that we do with inside the studio walls to just escape and have fun and for it to be a safe place for kids and their families.
And so essentially, like that's the essence of your new book too, is to show kids that they can just use their imagination and dream and become. So I love that connection. Well, since you've published this book with your brother, how was the experience of collaborating on a children's book together? You kind of touched on like it came as an idea through COVID, but how did that whole process end up being like? And was it fun to work with him on it?
Yeah, I mean, one thing is that we're fortunate. I think maybe we're 6 years apart and, maybe it's because I'm a girl, he's a boy, that sort of thing. We never were like a fighting sibling situation, right? We've always really worked well together and our personalities go well together. So the whole process was super fun and creative, and he'd give his notes or I'd, share this and then he'd give feedback. I don't know. It was just a really fun process and something different for both of us. We both haven't ever written a book, so we learned a lot through the process as well.
Well, what do you think was the most surprising thing that you learned? Like something that you just didn't expect from the process, whether that's in the writing or just even the business side of having a book come out?
Yeah, I mean, I think as you start in this, you do realize, there are a lot of children's books out there. So how do you kind of make yourself different or what have you. And I hope that this book speaks to people. And I think one thing is it's kind of a message where, whether it's a child kind of getting inspired for who they can be and where they can go and who they can meet in a sense within their imagination, but also for adults, right? It's like to keep that creativity alive and to use your imagination too for things that can grow you or I don't know, take you to new places. It's just something I think having creativity should live in all of us, right? And you don't want that to go to sleep. Just keeping it alive is a wonderful thing.
Why don't you share with us one of your favorite moments from the book? And it could be a quote from the book, or maybe it's one of Bonnie Lou's beautiful illustrations that you love the most. But what's a highlight for you from the book?
I think, there's two notions where, and even when my daughter, a lot of times she'll go to sleep and not remember her dreams at night. And I think it's a notion about there's dreams that you can have when your eyes are open, and they can be, in a sense, can become real and true if you believe. And, might be something that I always say this. And it's crazy in certain ways. Ryan would pretend to be Casey Kasem and literally host shows and had all this radio equipment. And then now, he ended up later in life taking over for Casey Kasem and hosting America's Top 40. It's crazy where, and then he would pretend to host shows and do all these things. And then, he took over Dick Clark's position with New Year's Eve show. And so I think you never know what you can be doing as a child, pretending and playing that could kind of spark something within yourself and that you realize you connect with and you want to be part of, and it might carry you into as you grow.
Yeah, I love that. And I think, too, what's special about this book is that really does get identified, that we can sometimes just think of that dream as what we have at nighttime, and we don't always remember those. But then, we can dream while our eyes are open. And I thought that was such a special moment. I'm going to tell you what my favorite page is, and it's the little girl with the dandelion, and she blows it. So it says on the pages, once you make believe, you'll notice your dreams getting bigger and bigger and bigger. And I love this page because the way the text is just spread out over the double pages, and those words do get bigger and bigger, and they kind of change colors, and it's just stunning. And obviously we all know the effect of blowing a dandelion and seeing it just spread like that. And so to me, that was my favorite spread.
Oh, I know. I think there is something true about blowing the dandelion. My daughter does it all the time, but it expresses that thought about dreaming. And to your point, it can get bigger and bigger and bigger.
Yeah, it makes it tangible. Well, why don't you share a little bit about the pairing of your words with Bonnie Lou's art and how you feel her illustrations bring the story to life? And then I'm also curious, did you get to pick her for this project, or was she a suggestion from the editor and from the whole team?
Yeah, so the publisher, so Simon & Schuster kind of presented an array of artists that we could kind of go through. And then I think it was almost kind of the style of art, which we were kind of drawn to her style and just thought so beautiful how she illustrated. And so we were able to kind of narrow it down, and it worked out, that she was available to work with us at the time. And again, she was great to work with. I mean, when they presented, or she would present the illustrations, even if we had a few notes here and there, and everything just kind of flowed so wonderfully. And the whole process just really was a beautiful team of people, and we're very fortunate for that. So hopefully that all that good teamwork, folds into the book. The art as a whole, I think, is just so beautiful. And I think, as I mentioned before, how my daughter looks a lot at the pictures and they speak to her because she can't fully read yet, we thought it was very important that the illustrations, really could stand out and complement our words. And I think Bonnie did an excellent job at that.
The Make Believers emphasizes the power of imagination. So I'm just curious how you feel imagination can open doors for children.
I think it can in so many ways. I think maybe if you are, again, in the hospital, in a bed, we deal with or meet a lot of patients that are stuck in their hospital rooms. Your imagination can take you out of there for a little bit. You could pretend that you're, whether it's a pop star or you're a chef or you've traveled to Italy or you're in Africa at the moment or wherever you want to go. It's amazing what it can do for you to take you kind of outside your surroundings, right? And it's just so much fun. I love playing Make Believe with my daughter, and hopefully, we just continue to inspire kids to use their imaginations and have fun. And maybe sometimes too, it's like put down technology and, the iPads. We're just in a tricky world, right? Where there's so many options of things from the technology side for kids to do. But sometimes just using that little engine that you have in your brain is just so fun and so important, I think, for young kids.
From your life experiences, including the work that you do at the Ryan Seacrest Foundation, but also as a parent, what advice would you give to caregivers who want to foster creativity and imagination in children? And you kind of touched on this just with the last question, but what advice do you have specifically for caregivers, other parents?
I think too, with the book, even when you read it, it's one thing, but I think you could close the book and there's questions to ask. If you were, if you're ready to be a make-believer, like, who would you be? Where would you go? Who would you meet? It inspires conversation and imagination, right? And I hope when they, parents or caregivers do close the book, that they ask questions and it strikes conversation and maybe inspires, hey, tomorrow, what should we play? Who should we be? When they have that quality time to play together or even with their friends. So, again, we just hope that it's a fun book that has a nice message and that it's fun for families to read together.
Yes. Well, if our listeners today just took away one thing from our conversation, what would you want that to be?
Oh, goodness. One thing from our conversation. I just think it's trying to, bring back just that thought of using your imagination and transformative play. And as a parent, it's put your phone aside and sit down with your kids and get into it, right? And it is so much fun because sometimes we're all tired and there's so much going on, but be, the veterinarian for the day or the doctor or be the patient or whatever role that you might get assigned and enjoy it. And, as I always say, like this chapter with kids being young is, and in certain ways it goes so fast. So just to be make-believers together. And that's hopefully what we it's a soft reminder of that.
That's beautiful. And I know that this book is it's so new at the time that we're talking. And so that maybe this question you can't answer yet, but has there been discussion about another book?
I mean, we just hope this goes well and then we go from there, right? I mean, this is a first time project for us. So hopefully it's received well and we'll see, right? Never say never. But for now, we're first time authors. So here we go.
Awesome. Now, I don't know how many other interviews you've done about the book, but I'm curious, is there a question that you wish people would ask you, whether that's about the foundation or about the book? Like, is there just something that you wish people would ask?
Oh, my goodness. That's such a good question. I haven't thought about that yet. I mean, again, I think it's just been fun working with my brother and just having a project to do together and just even some of the press doing it together. It's created quality time for us. As you get older, you don't always get those times of just being brother and sister together again. And, I'm got all the things going on in my life with my husband and kid, and he's busy here and we live in different cities. So I've just loved just the whole process of like the time together. And that's been super fun no matter what.
I love that. Well, Meredith, your passion for nurturing creativity and imagination in children shines through both in your book and your work with the foundation. So thank you for reminding us that dreaming is a superpower that we all possess, so long as we open ourselves up to receiving those possibilities that our brains and our hearts are trying to conceive. So just a huge thanks for sharing that message. And thank you for being on the show today. I really appreciate your time.
Well, thank you. I appreciate it too.
Thank you so much for joining us on this quest for growing readers. Be sure to check out our show notes. You'll find links to order copies of Meredith and Ryan Seacrest's The Make Believers. For more information about Meredith Seacrest Leach and her work with the Ryan Seacrest Foundation, visit ryanseacrestfoundation.org. And remember, if you love listening to the Growing Readers podcast, you can hear it on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or anywhere else you enjoy listening. Be sure to follow and subscribe to the show on your favorite podcast platform to get new episodes as soon as they launch. If you're enjoying our book chats, please leave us a review. And while you're at it, tell a friend to come and have a listen. The Growing Readers podcast is a production of the Children's Book Review. To find more books just like The Make-Believers by Meredith Seacrest Leach and Ryan Seacrest, I hope you'll visit us at thechildrensbookreview.com.